US President Joe Biden has weighed in on Israel's political crisis, urging Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to abandon his plan to overhaul the judiciary. Mr. Netanyahu has delayed changes to the judicial system following the biggest protests in the nation's history. Political opponents say the US president's comments are a wake-up call. Critics accuse the prime minister of a power grab, saying the proposed amendments would give the coalition government unchecked authority. Israel's leader said he won't bow to international pressure despite Mr. Biden's comments.
Like many strong supporters of Israel, I'm very concerned. And I'm concerned that they get this straight. They cannot continue down this road. And I've sort of made that clear. Hopefully the Prime Minister will act in a way that he's going to try to work out some genuine compromise, but that remains to be seen. Well, I don't know they're at an inflection point, but I think it's a difficult spot to be in, and they got to work it out.
And what do you hope the Prime Minister will do on that particular law?
I hope he walks away from it.
President Biden. Well, for more on those stories, let's speak now to Arise US correspondent Eric Ham, who joins me live from Washington. Good to see you. Eric, let's start with the one we just heard, criticism from the US President Joe Biden against the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's left Mr. Netanyahu bristling. What's been the reaction in America to this public spat between the US and Israel?
Well, what we're seeing here is almost similar to a reset, Charles, of the relationship between the United States and Israel, particularly under Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu, while he is Israel's longest serving prime minister, he is also seen as a very staunch and very caustic prime minister. In fact, we know that he has weighed in on U.S. politics. And right now, Israel, particularly among Democratic lawmakers, is experiencing a very low point in their approval rating and their relationship. We have already seen a number of Democratic lawmakers call for a reduction in security aid to Israel. And in addition to that, now with these changes and these moves by Benjamin Netanyahu to thwart what is seen as democratic overtures in Israel, we are seeing President Biden speak out. And of course, we do know that tensions have been growing because sources tell us that Benjamin Netanyahu feels that he has been spurned by the White House because after his election, he had not received a customary invite to the White House. And when asked about this by President Biden, if there would be an invitation to the Israeli prime minister, his response was not in the near term. So it looks like right now relations and tensions are rising. But also what we are seeing here is Benjamin Netanyahu is attempting to try to ensure his power base at home. But at the same time, in the United States, what we're seeing is that is causing tremendous tensions, which is one of the reasons for the catalyst for this democracy summit that we know the White House is also convening as well.
So what appears to be a chilling in relations and a bumpy relationship at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that one. But let's turn to the US and Taiwan. Taiwan in the middle of US and China. Tell us why China is so upset about this trip. It's the link with America that presumably is problematic.
Yeah, that's right. The Taiwanese president is actually traveling to the Americas, and she will be stopping in New York on the way to other countries, including Guatemala and other Central American nations. And on her return, she will be stopping in Los Angeles, where she is planning a meeting with the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. Now, it is that meeting on that leg of the trip that has led to this war of words from China. And today, Charles, I actually reached out to the Speaker's office for a comment, of which they had none at this time. Now, I did speak to a former high-level official in the Obama administration who worked on the China desk in the Pentagon. And he says that this is actually par for the course for China, that China simply does not have a moderating tool when they're clearly upset about something, and that this is how they tend to react. Will this somehow change the trip for the Taiwanese president? We don't know, but clearly it's not impacting how the United States is going to look at this.
Well, of course, as we assess how much of a flashpoint this is, Eric, we know that President Tsai Ing-wen is also going to Central America, and that is significant because the two countries she's visiting, Guatemala and Belize, are two of the very few nations that officially recognize Taiwan as a fully independent nation.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, the number of countries that recognize Taiwan as a fully independent nation have now dwindled to 13. And clearly China is using its authority and its influence to